Good morning. Happy 2015. Welcome to another App Marketing Conversations. As always, I'm joined by Ryan Morel from Gamehouse and Ian Sefferman of MobileDevHQ by 2. And I'm Robi Ganguly from Apptentive. So we made some predictions a little over a year ago, and we'll have some recap episodes for you to link to where you can talk about how those predictions went. But this year we're gonna do the same thing, and now we're breaking up into a few categories. So this category of predictions is going to be really about loyalty and mobile apps and what that looks like in 2015. So let's kick this off. Do you think that loyalty continues to be important, Ian?
Yes.
Okay, so why is it important?
Yeah, well, I think as we've seen before, first of all, at the high end of the market, a lot of those apps sort of have saturation, and now they have to build loyalty or retain loyalty in order for them to actually be successful. And at the low end, I think proving your unit economics first and foremost is really important before you go scale.
So would you care to make a prediction?
Yeah.
You know what? We'll come back to it. All right. So he says loyalty is still important. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Do you think that the importance has shifted? Has it changed over time?
No, I think it's getting more important, and partially because what you said at the high end, at least on the high end of the market from an app perspective, the number of users, like you either have to have a lot of users who are loyal and pay a lot, or you have to have a small amount of users who are extremely loyal and pay you even more, right? Like if you look at the charts how we ended 2014, they look very similar to how we ended 2013 and 2012. So that's about loyalty. So if you can't break into those charts, which it's unlikely that you're going to be able to, like even breaking into them at the bottom end will be important.
Right. And I think what I would add is I absolutely think loyalty is super important, and I think that last year's prediction around retention started to actually be proven true in 2014. But the thing that also is interesting is that the growth is still massive in mobile, but it's starting to slow, right? Instead of seeing the steepening of the curve, we're starting to slow because we see mainstream penetration of mobile devices. And what that tends to mean is that acquisition efforts are not enough. When it's growing exponentially, everybody can continue to acquire because there's new groups of customers coming online. Now we're starting to see that slowing, and it's more and more important than ever to start thinking about how you can get your customer base to help you with that acquisition effort, because you're now competing against more and more people in a market that's growing more slowly. So when you think about loyalty and you think about retention, that aspect of word of mouth that can come out of your loyal customers becomes more and more important to your acquisition efforts, and it becomes more and more important to everything that you do from a marketing and monetization perspective. So we let you think about this for a minute. Now I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah. I think my prediction will actually be around how loyalty comes to play, and I think that it's going to be continued importance or increased importance on re-engagement. We sort of saw 2014 as the year where re-engagement almost became possible, right? Like re-engagement campaigns really sort of took foot. I now see them as a primary driver and use case for an app and for a marketing organization within the app.
That makes sense. How about you, Ryan?
So I will give two predictions. So one, I think re-engagement, but maybe to the next level, like dynamic re-engagement.
Yep.
Saying being able to match an individual user to an individual ad impression, being able to deliver a content experience that matches that person. So for example, you were playing Clash of Clans and you have 1,000 coins left, like there's no technical reason why you can't show an ad saying, hey, and you have 1,000 coins left in Clash of Clans, come buy this, right? So I think that's one thing. And two, I think we're going to see the cost. Everyone's talked about the cost of building startups is dropping dramatically, and I think we're going to start to see a reversal of that because specifically for apps, because people need to build loyal users immediately, and you can't build a loyal user without a really high quality app experience. And so I think we're going to see that cost come up in order to meet the growing demand of consumers wanting fantastic experiences.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, so my prediction around this is that, so you talk a lot about the advertising aspects and some of the games and the quality aspects there. I think that loyalty has long been bread and butter for consumer brands, and they've had disparate programs. In fact, if you look at the largest companies in the world with consumer presences, they often will have things like a credit card with loyalty points. They might have their own shopper card. They might have then a third party that actually helps them participate in other ecosystems of loyalty. I think what we're going to see is the companies that have been doing loyalty offline or on other channels are going to start trying to take those practices to mobile and see if they can translate them or at least connect them and bring that data into their mobile experiences. And I think this year you're going to see a bunch of first steps in that direction with a lot of missteps along the way. I suspect that there are going to be probably at least half a dozen to a couple dozen companies that as they try to go do this, seek press around it, talk about it, and then you don't hear about it several months later because it's kind of died, because it's relatively complex to make that transition, especially with the speed that mobile is growing with. And that what we'll see by the end of the year is that some of the people who are winners actually start with their mobile customers first and then work backwards for their loyalty programs. So that's my long-winded prediction.
All right, how do you think Apple Pay impacts that?
I think Apple Pay this year will not really be incorporated into loyalty programs, because this year for Apple Pay, and we've talked about this a number of times, I think this year for Apple Pay is the year where what they're trying to do is get coverage at enough places to purchase, and then enough apps are using it also to power their commerce. That the work to actually connect it with loyalty activity and the work to actually get the hardest thing, get Apple on board with you and connecting the data so that you can get access to their data and then power your loyalty systems. I think that's too far off. I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Good.
Would you?
I have no idea. I was a curious question. I just know that the more that I use it, the more valuable it is to me. Mm-hmm. And I think from a non-app perspective, you're loyal to a few places, and not having that loyalty connection is a problem with everything. So I think so.
Yep, absolutely. Anything else we should be chatting about in these predictions? I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for the next two sets of predictions from these very intelligent gentlemen, and then we will also link to last year's predictions so you can see how we did. Thanks.